Each Muslim must profess these words: La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasul Allah. There is no God but God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. Anyone who says these words and believes them is a Muslim. Prayer, Salat. While facing Mecca, the holy city of Islam, believers must purify themselves with either water or desert sand and pray 5 times a day. Prayer time includes reciting special verses, kneeling, and prostrating oneself. Fasting, Psalm. The purpose of fasting is to commemorate Muhammad's hijrah from Mecca to Medina. During the month of Ramadan, no Muslim is allowed to eat, drink, or smoke during daylight hours. However, at night, families and friends gather for huge meals. Giving of alms, zakat. Muhammad proclaimed that each Muslim, except the very poor, was required to contribute a portion of his or her wealth, about 2.5%, to the poor. Pilgrimage, Hajj. This requires every Muslim who is economically and physically able to make a journey to the holy city of Mecca at least once in a lifetime. Each year, Muslims congregate at the shrine of the Kaaba in Mecca to circle the Kaaba, kiss the black stone, run between the nearby hills of Safa and Marwa, stone a pillar near Mina, representing the devil, sacrifice sheep, and assemble on the plain of Arafat. Jihad. The 5 pillars do not cover all Muslim duties. Jihad is a communal religious duty for Muslims. During the early centuries of Islamic expansion, raising the sword against Harbi was the main emphasis of jihad. The Quran commands Muslims, fight against those who do not believe in God or the Judgment Day, who permit what God and His Messenger have forbidden, and who refuse allegiance to the true faith. The primary objective of military jihad is not the conversion of individuals to Islam, but rather the gaining of political control over the collective affairs of societies to run them in accordance with the principles of Islam.
به لطف مجاهدت‌های شهیدان شما بیداری اسلامی و ایمان توحیدی در همه عالم.
The Quran emphasizes that those who die in military jihad automatically become martyrs, shaheed, and are awarded a special place in paradise. Today, Westerners think of jihad as Islam's holy war, but this is not completely accurate. Jihad is also an inner spiritual struggle of the heart against vice and ignorance, and choosing to do good while avoiding evil. The Sharia, Islamic holy law. By the end of the 9th century, classical Islamic jurists compiled a law code called the Sharia, an Arabic word meaning way. It is comparable to the Jewish Talmud, though there is nothing similar in Christianity. The Sharia classifies all possible human behavior as obligatory, recommended, neutral, objectionable, or forbidden by God, the supreme legislator. The Sharia includes rules about marriage, divorce, child rearing, interpersonal relationships, property, food and clothing, hygiene, aspects of prayer, and even commercial and criminal law. Ever mindful of the impending Judgment Day, the Sharia helps Muslims know and obey rules of behavior that will please God and maintain a harmonious society. Islamism advocates the implementation of Sharia and the restoration of the Quran as the sole authority for government in Muslim countries. Women in Islam.
And we have learned that their goal is to build a radical Islamic empire where women are prisoners in their homes.
In Islamic society, women generally tend to affairs of the home rather than the public world. This custom, called purdah, is widely misunderstood by Westerners as a form of oppression. From the Muslim point of view, purdah provides women a form of protection and a place of respect in society, as does the wearing of the veil and other restrictions from contact with unrelated men. The universe and humanity. Islam believes God created the universe in 6 days, but does not agree with other religions that say God created man in his own image, nor that God tired from the work of creation. Muslims believe the universe consists of 7 heavens, 7 earths, and everything inside of them. The 7 heavens are stacked above the earths. Humanity resides on the highest earth, and Satan resides in hell on the lowest. The lowest heaven is our sky, and the highest heaven is paradise. Although God is everywhere, he resides at the top of the world. In God's universe, there are angels, jinn, heavenly servants who obey divine will. Among the angels is Gabriel, who is entrusted with revelation. Satan, Iblis, or Al-Shaitan, was a jinn who disobeyed God's command to bow to Adam. Having fallen from God's service, he now tries to corrupt mankind. Islam often portrays Satan as a symbol of ultimate evil.
این رژیم منحوس پرچم شیطان است. پرچم شیطان بزرگ است.
As Satan is God's enemy, anyone fighting against Dar al-Islam is satanic. As America is the leader of the West, and its culture, ideals, and military opposes Islam, America is the great Satan. Judgment Day. Among Islam's basic tenets, none was preached more fervently by Muhammad than the belief in a final judgment day from which no one can escape. On this day of doom, all living people will die, and all the dead will be summoned before God's throne to be judged. There, God will review every individual's book of deeds to determine their afterlife, a reward of paradise, heaven, or damnation to everlasting punishment in hell. The Quran depicts paradise as a shaded garden with cooling fountains and beautiful maidens for the eternal bliss of righteous men. Righteous women will also enter heaven. In paradise, men and women will know peace, live in harmony, and see God. Hell is the abode of punishment that God has prepared for unbelievers and evildoers. For those who deny the hour, we have prepared a blazing fire, Allah reveals in the Quran. When they are thrown into a narrow corner thereof, chained together, they will at once pray for annihilation. The life of Muhammad. Islam eliminates its Jewish problem. The crossroads of the empires. At the dawn of the 7th century, the 2 great empires of Byzantine and Persia confronted each other across the Middle East. The Byzantine Empire to the west of Arabia was the descendant of the classical Roman Empire and was almost completely Christianized. To the east was the Persian Empire, extended all the way to Afghanistan. Neither empire attempted to control the Arabian Peninsula. The vast desert was simply of little interest. Pre-Islamic Arabia. The desert, nomadism, and tribal life were essential features of pre-Islamic Arabia. The Arabs were herdsmen, raiders, and mercenaries. The Bedouin, nomadic desert Arabs, followed their flocks of goats across the burning desert, from one isolated oasis to the next. The camel, their main means of transportation, contributed much to their way of life. Some desert nomads established small towns, the most important being Mecca. The Bedouin were illiterate and superstitious, but also rugged, proud warriors, known for generosity. Political loyalty of the Arabs was affixed to their tribal group, which was a social, political, and military alliance. The Arabian desert was, and still is, a world where a lone individual can quickly perish. Only by allying with others could one hope to stay alive in the harsh desert reality. Religions of Arabia. The Arabs were polytheists. The religions included worship of astral divinities, such as Alat, a sun goddess. Arabs made sacrifices and offerings to deities embodied in trees or sacred rocks. By the year 600 AD, just prior to the life of Muhammad, Christian and Jewish settlements were prevalent in Arabia, especially in the oasis town of Yathrib. The city of Yathrib, later Medina, lay 250 miles in an oasis north of Mecca. The 11 main clans of Yathrib included 3 Jewish tribes, Qurayza, An-Nadir, and Kainuka. The politics of Yathrib was characterized by fighting, strife, and disorder among the Arab tribes, with the Jews acting as a counterbalance. Mecca's importance was its location midway along the west coast of the Arabian Peninsula and near the Red Sea. The arid desert town was a way station for wandering nomads in camel caravans, often 2,000 camels long, carrying spices, metals, silk, ivory, and food. A booming merchant class arose from the constant influx of travelers and merchants. Mecca was also home to a sacred rock, a black stone, enshrined in the Kaaba by Arabs for many centuries. The Kaaba made Mecca a holy site for religious pilgrimage, as well as a center of commerce. The call to prophethood. Muhammad was born into the Quraysh tribe in Mecca around 570. In the year 610, Muhammad received the call as he approached the age of 40. The event is described in the Quran as a sudden explosion. One night on Mount Hira, where Muhammad spent a month each year, he was visited in his sleep by the angel Gabriel, who commanded him to begin reciting. It followed that the angel Gabriel would be the channel of communication between Muhammad and God, and the revelations would come in fragments, which would make up the Quran. At first, Muhammad was confused by his experience. He told his wife Khadija what had happened, and she believed him. Next, Khadija told Muhammad's story to a Meccan Christian who said that Muhammad was the prophet of his people, that he had been approached by the same spiritual force with whom Moses, the great leader of the Jews, had communicated. While asleep, the angel Gabriel took Muhammad on a supernatural journey to Jerusalem, where he met Abraham, Moses, and Jesus. After leading them in prayer, Gabriel took him to visit heaven. Muhammad later recited this experience to Christians who confirmed his description of the topography of Jerusalem. Muhammad was now convinced that God had indeed chosen him for a special mission. Opposition and rejection. In 613, Muhammad began preaching in Mecca, but won few supporters. For the first 3 years, the new religion was simply a private matter, though Islam would soon develop into a complex religion with many doctrines, rituals, and traditions. During these early days, Muhammad's message was simple and direct. Muhammad was a prophet of the one, true God, Allah, who created and ruled the universe. All must praise and worship Allah. All believers were equal in the eyes of Allah, and the rich should share with the poor. There is a coming judgment day when all mankind would be judged and assigned an afterlife by Allah. Muhammad expected Christians and Jews to accept him as the latest of God's prophets, the final extension of their monotheistic beliefs. When acceptance did not come, Muhammad was greatly disappointed. Arab polytheists simply did not take him seriously in a society of many faiths and gods. Slowly, Muhammad won Meccan converts, and relations between the prophet and the pagan Meccans deteriorated as he verbally attacked idol worshippers and pilgrims who visited various deities at the Kaaba. The Hijra. In the year 622, tribesmen from Yathrib met Muhammad at a fair where he was preaching. They embraced Muhammad for 2 reasons. First, the Jews of Yathrib had familiarized them with the idea of the coming of a prophet. Second, they thought Muhammad, as a religious figure, might unite the people of Yathrib and provide a solution to their communal strife. Muhammad immediately ordered his followers to leave Mecca and immigrate to Yathrib. Muhammad's immigration to Yathrib is called the Hijra. Muhammad's followers were called believers or Muslims. The literal meaning of Muslim is one who submits to God.